If you are consuming this content, it means you're interested in investing in real estate, and to do that, you need to learn the difference between capitalization rate or cap rate and return on investment, ROI. And you must learn how to calculate them correctly. When you search for these terms online, you will find many different methods of calculation. Not all of them are correct, and honestly, it can get a bit confusing. Luckily for you, I have looked up countless websites and tutorials on how to calculate the cap and the ROI correctly. My name is Enrique. I am the team coordinator at UTG Real Estate in South Florida, and I will guide you through the investment calculation jungle. Are you ready? Let's begin with a concrete example. Let's take a look at a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Delray Beach, Florida. This home is currently on the market for sale at about $350,000. I have already calculated all the numbers for you. Just pay attention so you can get an overall idea of what we're dealing with. Consider this example. If you pay 20% down and include PITI expenses, that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, you would end up paying about $2,000 a month. And if you look at the average rent in Delray for a 3-bedroom home, it's currently $2,500. This means that the property will cash flow. All right? So we have the house, we know the overall numbers. Now what? Should you calculate the cap rate or your return on investment, or, how do we go on from here? Well, hold on. Before you get there, let's consider a few different scenarios for the purchase of this home before I mention 20% down. But let's say in the first scenario, you could buy the house with a 5% down payment. That's roughly $17,500. In this case, your gross income would be around $380 a month. Okay, and that's after 1 to 2 years. Okay, remember that is after 1 to 2 years because you're buying with a 5% down payment. You're not buying as an investor. In the second scenario, you are an investor, which means you probably have to purchase a home with a 20% down payment. That's roughly $70,000. Your total expenses decrease because you paid more upfront, the 20% down, and your gross income in this case is $470 a month. So for now, we have 5% down payment, that's $380 a month. 20% down payment, that's $470 a month gross income. And now for the third scenario, let's say you're a cash buyer. Well, as you can see, this means that you will spend $0 on mortgage and will have the most income per month, about $2,000 per month. Now, let me ask you a question. What is the best scenario? It looks like there are some trade-offs. If you buy the house with a 5% down as your primary home, you spend the least down, and there is cash flow. But you will not be able to legally rent the home until you live in it for about 1 to 2 years. If you buy with a 20% down as an investor, you have a bigger spread, which means more cash flow every month, and you can rent it right away. So it looks promising for now. If you are able to buy the home with cash, this will give you the greatest cash flow, of course, but for many, it will be difficult to come up with the $350,000, right? So far, we have been talking about cash flow and income, but now let's talk about return. Pull out your calculator, it's time to do some math. First, let's get the cap rate out of the way. In order to calculate capitalization rate, or cap rate, you have to obtain your net yearly income for that property. Okay, net yearly income for the property, and divide that by the total home value. Notice that we are only using income. We are not deducting our mortgage expense or taxes. Also, we always divide by the total home value. This means that it doesn't matter how you buy the home, with a 5% down, 20% down, or cash, the capitalization rate will always be the same. Okay? Let me repeat that. It doesn't matter if it's 5% down, 20% down, or cash, the cap rate, it's always going to be the same. In this case, you would take the income obtained from the rent, subtract the HOA fees, the insurance, and general expenses, and divide that by the total value of the property, which is $350,000. Now, this will give you an 8.3% capitalization rate. Okay, great, 8.3%. So what does this mean? What's a good cap rate, you may ask? And the answer is that it depends. Look, capitalization rate is actually a measure of risk. To put it simply, it's like this. High cap rate equals higher risk. Low cap rate equals lower risk. A property that yields a very large cap rate will most likely be a riskier investment. On the other hand, a property that yields a low cap rate will most likely be safer. It's up to you. How much risk are you willing to take? The attractiveness of investing is that you are putting your money to work. And if you really want to know just how hard your money is working, you will need to calculate your return on investment, your ROI, or cash on cash return. Cap rate will not be as specific. Cap rate is only a guide at the beginning. Okay, so let's go back to a 5%, 20% in cash purchase scenarios. Here is the 5% down calculation. Okay, you're going to get the rent, subtract expenses, and PITI, remember that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You're going to multiply that by 12 months because we're dealing with yearly amounts, and then divide it by your down payment. Not by the total value, but by the down payment of 5% down. This is going to result in a 10.8% ROI for this example, which means that 10.8% of your money invested will return every year. In this case, that'll be about $1,900 a year. Not much, right? Well, you only put down $17,500. You're getting back $1,900 per year, which is 10.8% return. And you will only be able to legally rent the property after 1 to 2 years. Remember that. Now you may be thinking, well, what's a good return then? The truth is that it depends on you and the property, but usually a 10 to 30% ROI is considered good. Now for the surprise. Do this calculation with the 20% down scenario and you get a whopping 4.1% ROI. That's about $2,900 per year. Does this scenario look promising to you now? Remember that before we talked about the 20% down and it looked like a good deal considering the cash flow. Now it doesn't, right? It's about $2,900 a year that you will cash flow. It's more than a bank will pay, the 4.1% ROI, but you can probably find better properties out there. If you only calculate cash flow, you may trick yourself into thinking that this is a good investment. Use ROI. So what about the cash purchase scenario? Well, purchasing this property in cash will result in a 6% ROI, returning $1,745 a month, or to be exact, $20,940 a year. Again, it looks like decent cash flow, but remember to take a look at the ROI. Perhaps this deal would interest an investor with a lot of capital who wants to quickly hedge his cash against inflation. Otherwise, it may be better to use debt and buy many properties. Congratulations. You now know how to calculate ROI and cap rate, but which should you use? Well, I recommend you do both. Find a list of potential properties and calculate your risk, the cap rate, and also calculate the ROI. After doing many calculations and looking at different properties, your real estate IQ will grow and you will be able to identify which investments are right for you. Check out our YouTube channel for other insightful real estate videos, and remember to follow us on Instagram at UTG Real Estate. Until next time, see you on the UTG channel.